Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Anna and I make motherhood and lifestyle content, and I'm so excited for today's video, as I am with most of my videos. Today is the second episode of the mental and emotional aspects of motherhood. Last week I did one on pregnancy. This week's is on birth. Also, let me know if anyone else is like me and is pulling out all of their long sleeves and sweaters and pants and leggings, even though it's blazing hot still outside. Who's excited for fall? I am. I went to Target today and literally all of the women that I saw were wearing like fall clothes. And I was like, it's 90 degrees outside, but it's fine. People are just excited, and you know, whatever feels good, just go ahead and do it, right? Let's hop into today's video. Today's video is all about birth. So I want to preface this video by saying that I personally did not have a vaginal birth. I had a C-section that was recommended by my doctor, because I had a growth scan and she was looking very large and they were afraid for me to have her naturally, so I had a C-section. Anyway, there's that. So this goes for all women, but generally at the end of your pregnancy, in your third trimester, as you're getting closer and closer to your due date, most women are just so eager to get the baby out of them because, number one, you're uncomfortable. Number two, you've waited 9 months and your body has changed so much, you're just ready for it to be over. And I think it's totally God's design, because by the end of pregnancy, you're just motivated to get this baby out of you because you're uncomfortable and you just want to meet them and you want the pregnancy to be over. So I think that's a beautiful thing that God has given us, because it's natural for us just to want the baby out. And you kind of take that into labor. So I'm going to talk about labor, but like I said earlier, I had a C-section, so I'm not super well versed in labor out of personal experience. So you mamas who have a natural birth, please chime in and let me know what your emotions and what you were going through mentally when you were in labor and after you had the baby. So generally when labor starts, you get really excited because you're finally going to be able to meet your baby and it's finally starting, because everything in pregnancy is led up to labor. So generally you're really excited when labor starts and you're really focused. Along with being focused and excited, you can get kind of nervous because you don't know, if you're a first-time mom, you don't know what labor is going to feel like. You don't know how much pain it actually is going to be. And something that I want to encourage is to have a birth plan. I think birth plans are a really great idea. But I also, along with having a birth plan, you have to have an extremely open mind and be extremely flexible with your birth plan. Because when I think of birth plans, I think of them as just like hopes of how you want it to go, because there's a wide range of things that could happen in birth. So you just kind of have to be open and flexible with the things that you hoped or you wanted, because you may not get what you hoped for, like myself. So during labor, support people like your husband or your mom or your sister or whoever's really close to you, who you want to be there for your birth or be there for you during labor. A word for you is to just be kind of careful how you're encouraging, but you still need to encourage and be there to support them, because sometimes support people can get kind of annoying when a mom is trying to focus on a contraction and try to get through it. For them just to be there with you and to know beforehand, before labor starts, to know what your wife wants from you. Like, can I best encourage you when you're in intense labor and you're stressed or whatever? what can help you? And a lot of things that women like is to be massaged on their backs, or to be held during a contraction, and those things are not actual words. Those are just presence. And I think that speaks volumes for someone just to be present with you, knowing that you aren't doing it alone and that they're experiencing this with you. That is one of the biggest things in all of motherhood, is to just feel like you're not alone and to have someone there with you who's seeing you do it and is experiencing and seeing your pain as well. I think there's a tremendous value in that. So I highly encourage having support people there and for them to know what you want. So there are different stages of labor. This kind of goes back to, if you are preparing to have a baby, go take a birthing class, because then you can learn all about the 3-4 stages of labor. But when labor starts to pick up, it's getting more intense and you're starting to get a little overwhelmed and tired. That's when you need to rely on some encouragement, some verses. I have some really good friends and some family members who have kind of made like a vision board for labor so that they could see it while they're in labor. So that could be verses or things that you're hoping to do with your future child or whatever. It just kind of keeps you focused and helps you to reach the end goal. Because let me tell you, you will reach it. You will. And in the middle of it, you're going to feel so exhausted and overwhelmed, and you don't know if you're actually going to be able to get this baby out of you. I promise you, you will. Especially if you are in the care of people who are trained to get babies out of people. So take heart, and I hope that that encourages you, that if you are in the middle of labor, you will be able to get through it. So once you've birthed the baby and they're out of you and they laid them on your chest, let me tell you, this is the most overwhelmingly emotional thing that you probably will ever go through. Just the labor that you just went through to have them, and the pregnancy that you've gone through, and the years of praying for them, and all of a sudden they are on your chest and you're able to feel them and touch them and hear them breathe and cry. And let me tell you, it is emotional. You can cry, and some people are jittery, and it's exciting. Something that I tell people is that it's like a chamber of your heart as a mom or a dad just opens and you didn't know it was there before. And so this child is like incredibly precious to you, and you didn't even realize that you were capable of loving in that way. That happens immediately, and it's pretty cool. I don't know about some of you other moms. I'd love to hear your experiences on this. But for me, when they first initially put the baby on my chest and you're breastfeeding for the first time and you're doing skin to skin, the very first time, no one is really telling you what you need to be doing, how to get the baby to latch, or how to hold the baby, or whatever. They're not telling you. In my experience, they didn't tell me anything. They just kind of left us, me and my husband, with a monitor, kind of making sure I was doing okay. But they just kind of like, here's your baby, and you have no idea what you're doing, and you're just loving it. And maybe you're trying to breastfeed for the first time and there's no pressure and there's no one telling you if you're doing it right or wrong or if you can do it better. And for me, this was something, as I was reflecting back on, how wonderful that was for my first experience ever, my first moments with my baby. No one was telling me, you need to do it this way, or try to get to hold your baby with this arm, not this arm, or whatever. But you're just kind of doing your motherly instinct and what you think is best. I think that it is so important to, as a fresh mama who just birthed a baby, to not have bombarding opinions on how to do it or you're doing it wrong, and just relying on your instinct to take care of your baby well is a beautiful thing, and I cherished those moments and I still do. So after those first moments, if you're in a hospital, you are kind of like in a recovery room, or you're recovering after the initial kind of shock of just birthing a baby, and you're just taking in those first moments with your child. You go to another room where you further recover, but it's called a postpartum room. That's kind of where you will experience your first diaper changes, your first bath for the baby, and you'll have your first night with the baby, and you're going to be learning how to breastfeed. The first night or two, or however many nights you spend in the hospital, are going to be full of your firsts. And most of the time, parents or mamas are so excited and still kind of on a high of like thrill of just giving birth and meeting their child, that you kind of just take all of that in stride, and you're like, all right, let's change this diaper, or all right, let's get this baby clean, or all right, let's try to figure out how to breastfeed. And that's wonderful. It's great to ride that and to keep on that high, but you will kind of eventually get off of that high and that thrill, and that could be contributed by maybe not sleeping or being completely exhausted because of your body physically just giving birth. You could be super excited to do all those firsts and take it in stride, and then might be some moms who are just like, I'm so exhausted and overwhelmed, I just don't know. And that is okay too, because you basically just went through an incredible trauma to have this most wonderful and cherished being with you now. So I just want to encourage you moms to put no pressure on yourself. In the hospital, I keep on referring to the hospital because that's a general way to give birth. I know that there's birthing centers, you can have them at home, but in the hospital you have nurses and doctors and people coming in and taking care of you and giving you medicine and giving you food, and taking care of your baby too. So there's a lot of help, which is really wonderful. So if you're on that high and on that thrilling moment, just to keep taking that and enjoy your baby in those first few moments, that first few days. But if you're exhausted and need a little nap, like, just let your support people know, and they can change the baby or wake you up when you need to breastfeed or whatever. I'm going to kind of touch on the expectations that I had with Evelyn. For my birthing plan, I had wanted to have a vaginal birth, but wasn't able to because I had taken a growth scan that was requested by my doctor, and they found out that Evelyn was measuring kind of large, and so they wanted to have a C-section that was probably 3 or 4 days after my due date, just to kind of get the baby out, because they thought that there was a risk for me to have her vaginally, and that was the only reason. So as a first-time mom, I kind of was just like, okay, I guess that this is the best thing, my doctor knows best, so we did it. But in those first few days, of getting that news and then having to have a C-section, there was some grieving, and I wanted to have her naturally, and to kind of let go of that was challenging, and I cried a lot. But the Lord was so faithful. I prayed so much for the Lord to just comfort me and give me confidence and just overwhelm me with his presence, because I was kind of scared to have a C-section, just because it's not something I was mentally prepared for. But nonetheless, it was really exciting to be able to know the day and the time when we would go and we would be able to meet our baby. That was exciting. Out of that, I think the Lord is so good to give us what we need. I remember going into triage and getting ready for surgery, and all of my doctors were really wonderful. They made me laugh, and it was just a very high-spirited environment. Even my anesthesiologist was really awesome. But I remember getting into the operating room, and they were putting my spinal tap in, and I was sitting on the table as they were putting it in, and I remember a nurse. I think she was just like a support nurse, but she was standing right in front of me while I was sitting on the table, and between my legs, with her hands on my shoulders, looking right into my eyes, just talking about her kids, and she was just so calm, and we were having a conversation. And I honestly don't remember getting a spinal tap, because I just was like, man, there's a genuine person right in front of me who is talking to me right before I'm about to have this surgery. And I think that was just totally the Lord to give me that. And I was completely calm all throughout prepping and getting ready for surgery, and then during surgery I was very calm. A cool thing that I actually did not mourn was that Josiah got to hold the baby first before I even did. While they were sewing me back up, I actually didn't feel confident to hold her because I was kind of like a little jittery, but that was just because of major surgery and medicine and everything. So I got to hold her in recovery, and that was really awesome, but I don't regret that, because Josiah got to hold her first, and that was a really special bond for him, and I don't feel like I missed out on much. But then again, like I said, it was my first time giving birth. I can't really have anything to compare it to. Alright, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and just like the other one, I would love to hear your experiences and your stories, your birth stories, on just what was going on emotionally and mentally through your labor and actually giving birth, and then however many days you stayed in the hospital, what that experience was like. I'm going to pick up the next video postpartum, the first day when you go home, and then the next several months. So I'm really excited about that video. I've prayed a lot about it, and I'm just really excited to share some things for postpartum. If you guys have been enjoying these videos, please hit subscribe and like these videos, and as always, please leave comments. I love the interaction. Yeah, and I hope that you guys will stick around, and feel free to share my content with some of your friends or family. Yeah, I'd love to meet new people too. So, alright, bye guys, and have a great day.